I'm back with another juicy episode of identifying vintage Coach bags in the wild, teaching you if they're real or fake. Today I have a SoHo bag that is potentially real. They're asking $32.99 for it, which is kind of ballsy because right when we rip her open, she is just nasty inside. We're not here for that. Let's take a look at the data points that could let us know if she's real or counterfeit. So I'm going straight to the creed here. Always one of the first and most reliable data points for authenticating these bags in the wild. Here I'm comparing it to authentic creeds from the same bag in the same year. You can see there's a lot of discrepancies in the fonts and the cartouche of the logo. Now here I had to look for this a little bit more carefully, but the way the zipper is attached is incorrect. It should actually go all the way to the end binding. And there should be a line of stitching on the back of these straps, as you see down below here, which this one is missing. So I am confident this is not authentic and most likely just a really good fake. A lot of people don't realize that these vintage Coach bags from the 80s and 90s were heavily faked. So it's a no from me on this SoHo or SoHo Tote today. Next up, I found another style that I actually know pretty well because I have one in my personal collection, and it's the Canteen Bag. Now, this is definitely giving me fake vibes right off the bat. Just touching it, I can tell there's something off with this material. It's trying to be leather, but it's just like too stiff and shiny. They're asking $32.99 for it. The tag looks okay, but it's just like the material just does not have the right hand feel to me for the type of leather that these bags are made out of authentically. So let's dig into this one. First thing, we're going to take a look at the side profile here, and there's so many things wrong when you compare it to an image of my authentic one. The stitching, the gusset panel, that grommet on the strap is just completely wrong, and look how sloppily attached it is. They didn't finish the end, they just chopped it right off there. That's very sloppy workmanship for bags here, and you can just tell this material is just so stiff and shiny. It's not giving real leather at all. Even though they tried to copy the construction pretty closely, it's very stiff material, and real gloved hand leather would not function like that. Now here is the Death Knoll made in Korea white paper tag. Anytime you see that, it is definitely a counterfeit bag, but we kind of knew that was the case already. Let's pretend that we're not sure and just look at a few more data points here. Looking at the creed on the inside, first of all, it's cracking, so we know that this is not real leather. Here's a comparison to a creed from an authentic bag, and also this is on a hanging pocket, which you can see on my authentic one here that it should actually be sewn into that back wall. It's not a hanging pocket on the original style. Oh, just terrible peeling material, fake serial number, terrible stamping. If you see something like this, do not pick it up. It is counterfeit. You can even see the material on the back of this hanging pocket. It's just so shiny and like hard. This is not what these bags are supposed to look like at all. Now, one more comparison here. We already know this one is a fake and a no for me, but you can see here it's got a ring puller, but it's not the right one. And it's missing the leather piece that's actually supposed to be the zip puller on this. And then it's got this weird like flange pattern piece on that inside wall there that's not supposed to be there. So this one is totally counterfeit, you guys. I don't even know why they would put this out on the floor, to be honest. I would throw this out if I was a thrift shop owner. Now, this next one was a little bit difficult for me to identify. It ended up being the Legacy Leather Bucket Drawstring 9165. I think this one is a little bit less common, so I was excited to find this. And at first, this was definitely giving me authentic vibes. The material had a nice hand feel. The construction looked correct based off of comparing it to other listings I saw on secondhand marketplaces, which, as you guys know, is my go-to method for amateur self-authentication. The seams were in the right place. The stitchings were in the right place. Stitching did look a little wide to me, but sometimes I could just be crazy. The straps had all the correct, hardware. everything was looking pretty good. The grommets looked good. Again, the stitching does look a little wide to my eye here. And it was hard to compare this little piece under the buckle to see if that was constructed correctly, because people didn't really feature that in their photographs. So I got into the inside of the bag. Again, here, the stitching around the collar looks really large to my eye. So that was kind of like my first tip off that like something might be wrong here. But as usual, we go to our most reliable data point, which is the creed. And right away, there's two big problems with this one. First, it's in the wrong location compared to other bags that I saw online. And that JK4 prefix does not look right to me. Also, the cartouche logo should be stamped embossed, and this one does not look correctly stamped. So that was the nail in the coffin for me. This one was going back. They were asking $160 for this, which is like around the market price. I would say like between $150 to $300 on this style in good, clean, authentic condition, but that is not what they had. Now, next I have one that would have been a really crazy find had this been authentic. Now, clearly the thrift store is no fool here because they price this at $200, so they know this is a style that sells for more. In this color, it probably would have gone for even more money. But let's pause here a bit and talk about this Coach style for a minute. This looks like 9235, the crescent style that's been running since the late 70s. But this is actually 9988, the saddlebag that was refreshed in the late 1990s. And you can tell because it's missing that center seam on the front flap. And just to make it a little bit more confusing, there was a separate style released in 1996 called the Berkeley Saddlebag, which has the suede flap. That is an entirely different style, 9014. But of course looks very similar. So now let's dig into this bag here. First thing I look at is the washer under the grommet to see if it's got those grooves, which are a telltale sign that it is usually a fake. It doesn't. So we move on to take a look at the rest of the bag here. Looking at the tag, looking at the stitching, the seaming, the hardware. It does feel like real leather, doesn't feel like a cheap material, so that's good. I'm seeing the suede side of the leather in areas where I should see the suede side of the leather. But of course, because this is potentially such a valuable find, I'm going to really dig in and look closely at all the details, looking for, it says here, solid brass on the back of this buckle. A lot of the buckles do say solid brass, made in the USA on these older styles. So I'm checking all these little details because if this is a real saddlebag from the 1997 collection in red, it could be worth quite a bit of money. So I can't afford to be wrong on this one. It would also just break my heart because it would have been such a good find to flip. So looking at everything here, she's got a few nicks and dings on this back panel, but that's nothing I can't improve with rehab if she is indeed a real saddlebag. That's another reason why I brought up the two other similar styles that you might confuse this with, because knowing which version of the bag this is will indicate to you which ones you need to compare it to for authenticity. If you're comparing this to the crescent bag from the late 70s, it's going to have some differences that you're not going to see on this bag. And then you might think it's counterfeit when it's indeed just a different version of this bag. Looking at the creed, though, we have a death knell. We have a serial number format that is not a correct format that is known to us. I have a free guide on my Instagram that you can go check out. You can see here there are 6 positions in this format, and the shortest number of positions is 7. So again, take a look at my Data Coach serial bag guide. It is totally free on my Instagram. Using the guide, you can see that the format is not a correct known format, so nothing else matters. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. If you like this content, please like, share, and follow. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you'd like, subscribe to my paid Instagram subscriber group for insider reseller content on my business and reselling. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, happy thrifting.